Welcome to the Words Revealed. Today, our guest is a kind of a storyteller, a curator of hidden India, a hospitality strategist, and luxury traveler, which I have not seen in quite some time. Welcome, Insia and Lacewalla, on this beautiful platform. And please tell us your story at how it ever happened because I feel that your story is so intriguing and it touches so many aspects of travel, hospitality, hotels, food, um, and it so excites me to bring you on this platform because not everybody can do that, and they want somebody to follow or show them the way.
Wow. Okay. So I think for me, travel has always been something that I've really enjoyed. And I think, all of us do, especially when it is passed down to you through generations. So my grandparents used to love to take us on different trips when we were kids, like in our summer holidays, our parents would leave me and my sister with my grandparents and they would take us everywhere. So they've taken
Wow.
us to like some really rustic and rural places across India on these long train journeys and stuff like that, and we thoroughly enjoyed it. So I feel like that's where like this travel bug sort of came into being. I think every time I had the opportunity to travel, I took it up. It was never like, oh, when I retire I will do this. It was always like, okay, there is a long weekend coming up, or maybe in November there is a festival happening, so there was always a purpose to travel. And I think I've been very fortunate, obviously, because I have the opportunity to do that and write about it, which I thoroughly enjoy. But I think it all came very naturally. It never feels like work when I travel.
Wow, so interesting. So you had childhood travels all across India, and then how did it shape your passion right now, which you're following? Like, where did it really start? That you started enjoying something and said, "Okay, I could do this for a work. I could do this for something which
Yeah.
can be a livelihood." Like, where is that time which you think it is?
So I feel like a few years ago, I moved to Jaipur to set up a hotel, to work with a hospitality company. They were setting up their first hotel, and I was put in charge of this project. It's a small boutique luxury space called 28 Koti. And I think that kind of opened the doors to what boutique hospitality meant in the country. And because I was setting this up, you just flock towards going to see other places and what they're doing and get a better understanding of the experience that a boutique space creates, right? Because it's not like a cookie cutter chain hotel. And I think because of that, my access to a lot of hotels came into being. So I was able to pick up small aspects of what made a stay comfortable, what made it experiential. And so I started traveling to a lot of these places in the country. And I think I enjoyed it so much that I was like, if I have the opportunity to write about it, I'd like to write about it. So I think there was a magazine that reached out to me saying, hey, we're looking for someone to sort of write a piece about a certain place that I had already been to. So, and we saw that you've been there. Would you like to write about it? And I said, yeah, sure. And I wrote about it. And I think that in itself sort of snowballed. And today I'm able to write for different people because I think that if I find an idea which is really interesting and I'm able to pitch it to a magazine, because, as freelancers, that's what we do. And then if it's the right fit, it kind of works out. So it's always also a trial and error kind of thing, right? Like lots of pitches get rejected. I mean, and that's life, but that's okay. So yeah.
No, it is so intriguing that you followed it and then it just all got got connected in such a way that it fell into the right track, and it made something out of it. And today when you are where you are right now, I want to go back because you created a company called Small Fry Company, which is a
Yes.
pop-up platform that celebrated Indian chefs. And you're not from an F&B background,
No, I'm
and
not.
so
No,
that
I'm
is
not.
so intriguing that you're setting up hotels and giving them the directives. You're doing culinary pop-ups and not being from the F&B background or from the hotel industry, but from
Yeah.
the consumer point of view. So
Yeah.
would that be that the turning point happened that people started listening to you and said, okay, this is the actual ideal customer. And when she tells us, we have to listen to her.
I feel it's an evolution that happens. So I started doing it because I was put in a position where I had to do it. There was no choice, like I joined a company that was putting together India's first multi-stage music festival, non-electronic, live music, artists coming in from all over the world. And we were a small team of 8 people who were putting together this festival. And I was just, the festival was in Pune, where I've spent a few years. And they were like, can you just get some people to do some food there? So I was like, okay. So I went to the few restaurants I knew and I was like, can you come and like sell some food at our fest? And they were like, yeah, sure. And then the itself grew with the festival, So every year the festivals are getting bigger. And the first year, I think we had like 5 food stalls at the festival. And now it's about like some 80, 100 food stalls that showcase at this festival. So I think that kind of introduced me to curating and, bringing, F&B to different kind of experiences. And so then I started a small fry company, which was the idea was to curate F&B experiences. So for example, if you made a really good burger but you're not a chef, you're somebody who loves to cook for your friends, and I'd be like, hey, why don't you come to our pop-up and take a stall for an evening and sell your burgers? So that's what Small Fry was about. It was never about restaurants and hoteliers and chefs. It was always about people who were passionate to cook, just like I was passionate about doing this job. So that's where it all started. Then yeah, and then I've just been curating for the past few years now. Yeah.
Wow, that is so impressive. Tell us about this beautiful, because I heard that you started India with Insia and it came to you in a dream and you sketched it at 3 a.m. in the morning and this beautiful moment. How did it happen? Like, how did it reach from dream to platform?
Yeah, it's honestly, I have no idea. I think it just, I had this dream. It was like a weird premonition, that I already obviously had an Instagram page, which was just my name. And I was putting up stuff during the lockdown. I was putting up stuff about hotels and stuff because I knew that they were going to suffer, right? Coming from
Yes.
setting up hotels. I felt like boutique hotels, they don't have the kind of width, they don't have the kind of deep pockets to run the hotel even during a time like COVID. So I just started putting it up saying, if you're going to travel India, and this is what a lot of people were doing, right? Like you couldn't leave the country. People wanted to travel in the country. Like these are the options that are there. And then I just had this dream one night to call it India with Insia. And I woke up in the morning and I was like, okay, I opened Canva and I made one logo. And it's everything I had dreamed. And it just happened. And I changed the Instagram handle to India with Insia. And that's it. So and right now also, I think it's just a sort of a place where you can come and find really nice places to stay in India. I'm expanding that a little bit to even outside of India because, you know, travel has become so accessible, especially in Southeast Asia. So it's kind of like talking about the places that I get to travel to. And I kind of just use that as a marketing platform for properties who could, use that little help.
You've always been communicating from the start. I think you've studied media and communications, if I'm not mistaken. And how does the storytelling blend of heritage, culinary secrets, hospitality, and F&B, and how do you do that on creating human stories and bringing it up to a scale at this platform and showing it to the world? And where does that luxury lie in it? What would the definition of luxury be? And how would you humanize your stories, which is more about culinary, hospitality, and F&B?
I think because I come from the service industry, so whether it is PR, communication, marketing, events, I think it's all people facing, right? You're always dealing with people. And I think everybody has a story to tell. And someone needs to listen. So I feel like what happened with Small Fry was that I was able to listen to people's stories and bring them under one roof. And I think with the hotels, it's the same thing that happened, right? Like we had like a physical space where people could come in and share their stories with us and tell us where they came from and why they were here and what that journey meant. So I think it's always been about storytelling, but I think it's been more about listening as compared to telling. And I think luxury lies in that, right? Luxury lies in listening to people. Like if I'm a luxury brand, I want to listen to what you have to say, how you feel, and am I able to cater to that need? So I think that's how I would define luxury, whether it comes to hotels or whether it comes to a dining experience you're going to or a destination that you're traveling to. If there is a story to tell, I think, and the authenticity of that story, I think that really defines luxury.
Oh, very interesting. Very interesting take. One of your Konkan journeys with a Jeep Compass, you've been inspiring women all around. And that's where I think the seed of woman empowerment has been sown. Can you tell us something about that?
Yeah. So I moved to Goa about 4 years ago, and I think I really missed a social construct because I've lived in Bombay and I lived in Jaipur, and I have a very tight group of friends in both the cities, and I have a lot of women friends, so I've always had these close girlfriends, and I think when I moved here, I kind of missed that a lot. So it was a bit lonely because Goa's can be a bit intimidating. It can be a bit lonely because everybody's, far away from each other. And unless you've gone to school with people or you go to an office and work with people, there is no real way of meeting new people. So I missed friends. And then about a couple of years ago, I think I'd reached a point where I really felt like I wanted to solve this problem. And I reached out to 6, 7 women that I had met in the initial 2 years here and got them together. And I said, listen, I want to start like a community, a club for women where we can come, speak our mind freely, exchange ideas, learn from each other. Because everybody who had moved to Goa had moved from lots of different places. They were across age groups. So there was this wealth just there to learn from people and from their experiences. So all of them said, yes, let's do this. And they were the first members of WE, which is Women Empowered, which is it's a social club that I started in Goa and in March 2023. And it's been 2 years. We're about 65 members now.
Wow, that's
It's been
huge.
really nice. I mean, people do say that it's a very difficult sort of process to get into WE because the wait list is on for like 6 months. But the idea is not for me to be the next big networking club for women. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for people to come and make billions of each other here. The idea is that you find a support system, you find friendship, you find people you can trust. And I think because of that, it's been so limited. We're not
Yeah.
onboarding members constantly. Every 3 months, I onboard 4 or 5 members and give everybody the time to get to know each other before new people are introduced to this, because at any point you shouldn't feel like you're being judged for speaking your mind. That safe space has to be created. And I think over the different industries that I've worked with, I've also worked with very inspiring women. So I feel like what was passed to me, I'd like to pass that on to, others who could benefit from it. So
That
yeah.
is interesting. That is it. So tell us something about your move to Goa, as in, because you've lived in a couple of places. You lived in Mumbai, Pune, Jaipur, and then finally Goa. And of all these places, they've all have certain, kind of small bits which stay with you, and then you carry this forward to the next place. So tell us about that from this time. I think you born and brought up in Bombay, if I'm not mistaken, took your studies and then you went around India and then Jaipur happened. So tell us the story that how and where, because I want to learn from that the traveler's point of view that what are the nooks and the most cultural or hidden India, which is not seen by the world.
So I think a lot of my travel happened in my, I would like to say, in my early 30s. It was not really when I was younger. So when I lived in Bombay, it was always about, like, obviously there was school and then there was college and then I was working and I didn't travel as much, but I always was surrounded by people who wanted to do something different. I was very lucky. Well, I don't know how, but I always found friends who were like, okay, let's go on an 18-day motorcycle trip through Ladakh.
Oh, wow.
And that's what we did for a holiday. So it was, sitting Friday night and a friend's house saying, what do we do this weekend? Let's make a plan and just drive off to Rajasthan. So it was just like one of those things. We were very spontaneous. I give full credit to my friends who were always up to doing something. So I think I saw when you travel India by road, you see it very differently as compared to taking a flight to a destination. So I think that was very, I think that got me into this, to understanding culture, to understanding tradition of a certain place or the cuisine of a certain place. You also realize how much a landscape changes every like 50, 100 kilometers. And I think that sort of that seed was left in my mind at that point. And when I started traveling, when I started planning to explore India a little more, I always kept that in mind. So when I go to a place, for example, when I went to the Chettinad region for the first time, when I went to Karaikudi, I was very interested in saying, okay, what are Athangudi tiles? What are Chettinad mansions? What is Chettinad cuisine? Everybody thinks it's, chicken Chettinad, or that is the only thing that comes out of Chettinad, but it's not. It's culturally very, very rich. And I think that started happening a lot. And today, Kiss is specifically that. So I feel like I have been to at least 20, 30 different weavers in India. And these are small communities that have migrated from different parts of the country and still do this indigenous craft, which I think maybe by the time the next generation comes in, won't even exist.
I know it's very interesting because I did a video on my sherwani for my marriage, and I was talking to my
Mm.
designer, and I have on my podcast, and he said that, and he does this from last 25, 30 years, and he's a surface embroidery designer. and he's been working with Abu Jani and most of the other big brands. And then he said that the just generation, there are no weavers left, like, and embroiderers left, because the children, they don't want to carry forward this legacy. Correct. Or this craft. This craft dies off. So say for instance, there's some kind of kalamkari or chicken curry or the gota work or the katha work, which is very much developed or embedded in the history of our generations from before, and nearly been doing that for 3 generations. And it's so interesting to know it from another person that it is actually true that these are dying crafts and nobody's taking them forward because their children want the best cell phones, they want the best cars and they want the best houses, but it doesn't come by doing handiwork or artisan work. And also that leads me to the question that where does the respect lie? Like in this day and age, do we give enough respect to a certain handcraft versus a certain available copy or an influenced or maybe inspired craft, which is easily available and I would not say off the rack, but something which is available very instantly. So how do you manage that and what do you tell your audiences and what do you portray them that what should happen? Like I'm in this in the middle because I come from a background where luxury is all about the experience and where does the heritage lie? Like if you tell me that okay, I know this brand, or I know this watch brand from 250 years, and like Favre Luba, which is one of the most oldest brands in the world, and they do only very limited watches. And they said they don't really care if they are in the top 5 watches of the world because that's not where they want to be. They want to be on the hands, on the wrists of the people who can value those watches, not on the papers and magazines which showing off watches. So is that something which you have experienced also?
People that I have visited, right? Like as somebody who's just going to visit or going to experience something, you look at it from a very different lens. You look at it from a consumer lens. But when you
Yes.
go and you talk to these people and you understand why they are doing it, sometimes the reasons are very different. Sometimes it's the only thing that they know. Sometimes it is because they actually truly love doing it and they want to keep it alive. At the end of the day, I think you have to care. I mean, I can put out hundreds of reels about why you should go to a weaver in Karekudi, but if you don't care about the authenticity, the design, the craft, the lineage, the history attached to this, then I'm not really talking to you. You can go and buy it from anywhere else. You can buy a copy and you'll be very happy. But at the end of the day, if you truly care that okay, I want to invest in this person, and that is what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to get people to care about people other than themselves. And it's a bit of a hard sell.
And do you have like a lot of young generation, like a Generation Z coming to you, or is it Generation X and Y? Because I have seen that it's a very difficult sell for even Gen Z and Gen Alpha now, which are now the new generation. And I'm from the generation I'm trying to understand because luxury industry as such is going through difficult times. I would say that because the brands which are supposed to be luxurious are trying to dry out of inspiration and they're trying to look to outwards that where should and what should happen. And so, as my history in luxury goes, the new generation doesn't really care about where the lineage of the craftsmen lie. They understand that, oh, firstly, is what is where does it come from? Is it sustainable? Is that a priority on this idea? And how do we, secondly, have a small span of inspiration and then recycle that? So pretty much not let it down for ages and carry forward and keep it for the craft's value. So how does that work when like have you been connected to Gen Z or the Gen Alpha and how does it work when they connect with you? What do you tell them?
So I think because of WE, I have access to an audience with, it's varied, right? We have who's 23 and we have somebody who's 55, and they're very easily able to talk to each other. But when I listen to them talk, I'm seeing that more and more that people who are part of communities are more inclined towards learning about lineage and heritage as compared to people who are just scrolling on Instagram, and that's their way of social access. So I feel like if you're, say, part of a book club or a reading club or a movie night club, or if you're part of smaller communities, you're you're meeting people from different walks of life and you're understanding the value of time. And when you understand the value of time, I think you also understand the value of craft, which always takes time, right? Like you can never get something ready made. So I think that kind of helps a lot for somebody to, whether it's Gen Z or millennials or any of it, if people have access to communities, they're able to add more value to something.
That's interesting. Yes. So it's an interesting take on the understanding that community helps them to build authenticity and validation, the idea which they are trying to communicate. And has communication styles been different? Because since you are a part of that whole cycle, are people communicating more offline rather than online? And are they're looking for a certain face-to-face communication, or is digital the next way, or is written? I work for Mobla, and I used to be in an industry where writing instruments is the big thing. And that was a hard sell, at least for countries in Southeast Asia, because it's all digital. I said, why would I buy a writing instrument which is like $1,000 when I can just buy an iPad, which is 99 like $1,000, and I can have an access to so many things. As a communicator, would be written versus digital and telling stories, which is more I think helps you in reach and interest.
I think you have to meet everyone halfway, especially the coming generation. It's hard to say that, this is how we do it, this is how we've done it, so this is how it will be. I think it's important to evolve. I think like my parents evolved with time, and they are able to relate to me today because they've met me halfway. I think that's the same thing that we try to do, especially when I'm trying to do any kind of storytelling online. See, online, I think the digital world is now the medium, right? I mean, we're in two different countries and we're having a conversation today about our lives. So the digital medium has certainly created accessibility. I'm not so sure if it has gotten us closer though. I think the gap has increased a little more. Everybody's like into their phones constantly, and you're becoming more and more nuclear in your living. You're not it's how we lived in joint families. 2 generations ago everybody was in a joint family, then you were in a nuclear family. Earlier when we were kids, our doors were always open. You could walk into your neighbor's house,
Yes.
they'd walk to your house. Now everyone's door is shut. First people used to live in societies, now people want independent villas. So we're getting more and more, living in a silo, because I feel like we'd rather live in this alternate reality, which is the digital reality, and communicate through that. So I get more messages on Instagram related to work through a DM instead of an email or a WhatsApp. And I'm still, me, I
Yes.
still, we always have been emailing you throughout, because I'm still that. It comes to me naturally to email somebody. But it's changing, right? And you have to be like, okay, fine, I will respond to you on Instagram, and that's fine. It's okay. It takes a little bit to adapt. But honestly, for me, none of my communication when it comes to friends and stuff like that happens on Instagram, unless we're sharing memes. Obviously, then all of us are laughing about it. And medium of communication is to pick up the phone and have a chat with a friend, not check in and say, hey, can I call you at 5 p.m. just to chit chat? That's just absurd. But that's how it is today. Everything is scheduled,
Yes.
everything. And I'm talking about more personal. I think professionally, yes, it's nice to be scheduled, but there are sometimes you just want to talk to your friend, right? So I do feel like we're getting more and more, we're living in these little silos. And have you watched this movie called Ready Player One?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So Ready Player One is I think where we are headed, I feel like we're all going to have these headsets and we're going to live in this alternate reality. And when we come out in the world, there's going to be nothing around us. So yeah, well.
Your imagination is amazing. And yes, I do watch a lot of futuristic movies. So, like I again said, sometimes people get very, I would say, not offended, but a little bit disturbed when you try to call them or be frank with the aspect of can I talk to you
Yes.
before doing anything. And I felt that when I'm connecting with the new people, and then they are then in the industry, and then they are doing AI and generative AI, the aspect of the new world which is going to be developed is all about intrusive technology and intrusive world. Like I want my world this way, and then if you like it, you can be in it, or you don't like it, you be out of it. So what does the role of AI play in your industry, as in at least in communication industry? Is this that authenticity validation of writing words onto something and then feeling the passion when somebody reads? Does that exist?
I feel these are all tools that can help you get better at what you do. So I think like self-improvement tools, how we had self-help books, I do feel that so I'll tell you, I did this course with this journalist. She was doing a weekend course on writing, and in that course, it was a question that came up. How do you feel about ChatGPT? And as a writer, should I be using ChatGPT? And she's like, why not? If it is your idea, it is what you want to say, And eventually, you're going to say what you want to say. What AI may possibly do is it may help you say it better. So there is no harm in that. I get a lot of emails for people who want to collab and stuff. Right now, if every single time I get an email and I have to send the same response, so every time somebody applies to WE, I have to sit and type the same email, I'd rather create a template that I can send out, right? Which makes my life much easier. So I do feel like if you can use these tools to your own benefit, at the end of the day, it's very easy to read something that was written by ChatGPT and say, hey, this was written by ChatGPT. It's become, because it's happening so much. It's distinctly like, oh, ChatGPT wrote this press release. So it has become pretty obvious. But I also feel it depends on the person. Like, I want my voice to be heard at the end of the day, right? Like, I want somebody to know what my view of something is or what my story about a certain place is. And I don't think that an AI tool at this stage, I don't think I have developed the ability to make an AI tool do that. I'm happy.
Because the chat GPT has a voice function, a voice agent, and it actually mimics the R's and the ums to make it human, to make it easy to talk to. And that's what I think the level of AI, generative AI, has become. It's trying to mimic human mistakes so that it looks human, talks human. Does not show the passion, I would say that, because yes, I do use AI and I use most of the AI functions and all in my work. But I'm so amazed as the fact that as a person, and I do write and I do journal and I do make mistakes. Like my thoughts have some come with, I mean, I think one thought will come and then totally another out of the world thought will come and I write that also, where I have a lot of mistakes in grammar and these words come out more understandingly different when you start typing also. So I type and then I use it to make it correct, grammatically correct. But when I talk to somebody and when I want to write to somebody, I just write my own words because I feel that passion in the words are somewhere lost in that whole medium. Because I read a lot of articles and I feel that some articles are very dry, some articles have been created with a mix, and some articles are just created for media. And has that been evolved because now travel and retail is big? People want to go to places to experience things, and people want to read something which inspires them. That's sitting at a place because we're always in front of the computers. We want to have that escape. So rather than doom scrolling, you go to a website and see, okay, let's go to India with Insia, and she's done something crazy, and let's go see that. So how
Yeah.
is that changed? And do you write your own article with like that, the mindset in your, like when you write it? Or
I think for my website, I write whatever I want to write. I don't think about like, is this cool? I was like, oh, I want to write about this. I write it. So I think my website is my playground, and I'm like, I will write whatever I want. Obviously, when I'm writing for somebody else, it has to, stick to a certain
yes,
sort of style sheet, or it has to stick to a certain topic. And I'm able to do that. So I think I have a good balance. Also, like you, I have a diary and I write it in every morning, basically just putting down some
yes,
stuff so that I feel like it's off my head and it's there somewhere. But it's very different from writing professionally or writing with a purpose. So I do feel that
yes. Writing with a purpose. That's the
yeah, I do feel that it's nice to have these tools that can help you do it better. But at the end of the day, you want it to sound like you, right? And I haven't gotten to that point where I can speak to AI. I find it a bit eerie. So I haven't, started doing this voice stuff because I'm still getting used to Siri, and that's only enough for me.
in your environment. Do the people like Sid said that they reflect that everybody carrying their phone? Does that, but does that make you a little hesitant that, oh, I should be carrying my phone, I should be wearing this watch, or I should be connected to this AirPods, or I should be doing this, listening to this
No,
music, or be on this webcast or this.
no, no. I have no,
That's very interesting.
in Gen Z terms, I tell you, I have no FOMO. I have no, I don't feel like, oh, I'm missing out on this. Nothing. I'm more than happy to be a little disconnected from everybody.
Did not even put it onto you that you should have done it, or you should have been there, or you should have, oh, I missed it because it's such a great experience or something like that. Because I think I would not. So when I would be in my younger years, I was just crazy about travel and being with luxury. So and that's why I did my, I went in France and I was in Europe for 4 years, just backpacking all over the country. Yes, and I do have friends, but my passion was to explore, and then similarly to traveling and other parts of it. But do you have like a a set of friends which you would hang out with, like that has been a constant throughout your life?
I do. I do have some friends who I've known since maybe I was like 14 years old. So I do have that, but they are all such one-on-one relationships, and they're not constant relationships, right?
Oh, yeah.
They're like we've disappeared for 2-3 years in between. Somebody's gone to do something else, and we've reconnected, and things haven't changed. And I think all of us have those friends, which is really nice. I do feel that I've always believed that I am where I'm supposed to be. So I've never felt the need that, oh, I could have been there or I should have done this. I don't
Yes.
like as a philosophy or as a personality, I think I've always been this person who I'm like, I am where I'm supposed to be. I am doing what I'm supposed to do. And if I've not done something, it's not meant to be. It's not for me, or it's not something that, is part of my journey. So, and I never look back. I don't think if you ask me, can I go back and change anything? I would change nothing. I think all of
Oh,
us get a fair share of,
that's interesting.
yeah, experiences. And I've had a large amount of them, so it's fine.
So you say that every day as it comes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you have control over anything else. So,
Would you prepare for it if you knew it?
no, I don't know actually. That's a good question. Maybe I would, maybe I wouldn't, but the spontaneity of things, I enjoy it. I'm still the person who would be very happy if you give me a surprise birthday party. So, I
Oh,
like that.
interesting. So you've been such a one-on-one person. How did you manage through the COVID times, like which is must be very difficult, and even for the firstly personally, and also for the industry, and for travel industry, for F&B industry, for hospitality industry, it was a big stop, and it took some time for them to really understand that what has happened.
So, for 2 years prior to COVID, I was involved in a project and I was working on it nonstop. There was a new hotel that we were building at that point, and it demanded a lot out of me, and I was constantly working. Like it was a very very busy time. Those 2.5 years. And I think when COVID happened, it was literally like the world telling me, saying, "Relax, or you're going to burn out." I think for me it was just like, just take it easy. So I think coming back from Jaipur to Bombay, and my sister and I both were in Bombay. She's been living in Bombay throughout. And when COVID happened, I went and I was staying with her, and it was really nice actually, because one, it allowed me to just stop and ask some very important questions about how I want my life to be. Do I want to constantly be working? Do I want like some work life balance? What is it that I really want? I think it also allowed me to think about my own purpose, because I felt like I was just constantly consuming and there was no giving back in any way. And so I think it gave me some time to do that. Obviously, it was really difficult because you were hearing such bad news all around you. And it was also like a forced time with yourself, right? You had to sit and introspect. And that can be a very
It was
uncomfortable feeling.
like,
So I think a little bit of that. So I do feel that it was a bit of a mix, but at the end of it, again, it was supposed to happen. It happened. We all have lived through a pandemic, which, I mean, you understand how much the world is changing, and you take your health more seriously, you take your life more seriously. So I think a little bit of good came out of it, but yes, it was a very difficult time.
and professionally, as in, do you think the industry has changed post that?
Yes, hospitality took a big hit, and I still think that a lot of people haven't recovered from it. People are always going to go out and eat, right?
Yeah.
Like food is not going to go out of fashion. But at the end of the day, when you're running establishments like restaurants and hotels were empty. And it's not about selling rooms, it's about, a 50 people staff that you need to feed, who have to feed their families. How do you deal with that, right? So it had been challenging, I think, for a lot of people. But again, if you care, you're able to sort of figure it out. A lot of people figure it out. They try to do as much as they can for their teams. But I don't think the hospitality industry has truly recovered from that. Like a lot of establishments shut who may have really prospered otherwise.
Interesting. Yes. So in your work, how do you define a luxury experience? Would it be like a homestay or like a stand which makes amazing sandwiches or vada pav, or a quiet dinner, or like a great breakfast or a filter coffee? What would be the best luxury experience according to you?
I think luxury is defined by how authentic you are to the experience that you're providing. So, for example, if I have gone to Uttarakhand and I'm staying at a property that gives me a Garhwali thali that really showcases where the produce comes from, why certain recipes are made the way they are. That is a great experience. For me, that is luxury. And it could be something very simple. It's about going to a woman cafe that's been there for generations in Pune and having that bun maska chai and seeing those photographs on the wall of what it used to be like because you've been there, right? For me, that's also luxury. The luxury to sit in a space that has been there for 100 years, doing the same thing every day. So I think luxury is defined by, I think, the authenticity of the experience.
Interesting. So we're going to do a small rapid fire round, and it's going to be very interesting to know that things from your point of view. Okay.
Okay.
Let's start. A food fusion only a brave heart would try.
Amras and steamed rice.
A secret superpower you wish you had.
I wish I could teleport. I could be
So you don't want to travel through.
No, there are many places and there's not enough time.
So, for example,
I would like to teleport to see the Northern Lights right now.
okay. Have you seen the Northern Lights?
Haven't. No.
Okay. All right. The one thing you always pack for your travel.
Lip balm. It's my most essential thing. Everybody thinks I'm
It's a
addicted. I have a lip balm everywhere, on the dining table, on the writing table, in the car, in my handbag, in my suitcase. There's always a lip balm everywhere.
Okay. A Goa's hidden gem nobody knows about.
It's a hidden gem that nobody knows about. So there's this waterfall that I went to. I don't know where it is, but I went with this company called Local Beat and we walked through some jungle and stuff, and it was beautiful. It was a stunning waterfall. We got into the water. It was shallow. Everybody was swimming and we had a little picnic. And I feel like I'm glad I don't know where this spot is so that I can't share it with anybody and I don't have to lie. I really don't know where it is. So it can remain hidden.
Okay. And a quote or mantra which you live by.
One quote that I live by. I just think, like I said earlier, you are where you're supposed to be. I truly believe in that. There is no looking back, and you have to be excited about what's going to come your way. So yeah, you are where you're meant to be.
Do you believe in destiny?
Yeah, I do believe in destiny. I believe that our paths are sort of defined, but it's the choices that we make that create the experience of what that path is going to be.
I think the community which you have created is something which you would get people back to humanity and humanization. And I feel that that's what I think led me also to connect with you and to understand that, yes, this personality is so vivid and so interesting and to understand. And it is something which is very rare to find in this day and age, is to have people connection.
Yeah.
You can have connection through media, digital, but it's very difficult to find people having same wavelength and to understand a point of view, which is very difficult. So I think in your community, is there a certain question which you ask, which defines that are you up to this or are you open to this, or is it something which you have found out which would help us in humanization?
For WE, there is an application form, and on the form we ask you a bunch of questions, right? I think the questions are never direct. They're very indirect to understand your personality type and then to see if you sort of fit into this. Also, every person who applies to WE has to give references of 2 existing members. And then so that I can have a conversation with members who've anyway been a part of WE, and they'll be like, she's a really nice person, but may not be the right fit for WE. And that happens, because we're a very free space. We all speak our mind very, very freely. And in a day and age where anything you say is inappropriate,
yes,
we have to be mindful. Obviously, everybody's anyway very mindful, but sometimes you just want to freely talk about, I felt humiliated or I felt embarrassed. Yes. You should be able to say it in a space where people are accepting of that. So I think that has always been for me the most important thing when filtering applications for WE.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that, but yes, interesting. And so one thing you want to give our audiences which they can, think back and say that, okay, this is such an interesting thing and it's such an interesting way of life. Besides that, I think you're supposed to be where you are. What would you tell our audiences?
At least from what my recent learnings have been, that days are just flying by. Every year we're like, oh my God, this year just flew by. And I feel if you're able to dedicate some time every day to the most important person in your life, which is you, I feel we don't give that enough importance. Like, you have all the time to talk to your friends and, like people's posts and post stuff and go out for drinks and watch
Yes.
movie, consume. But at the end of the day, is there anything that you are doing which is just you and yourself? So I feel if you're able to over time do that little bit every day, you will get so comfortable with yourself, and that happiness is going to trickle into every part of your life. How you feel, how content you feel, how at peace you feel with yourself will trickle into every part of your life, which means that if you want to just, spend half an hour in a day doing something that is only for you, if it is reading a book or going to the gym or whatever it is, right? But I feel we don't give that enough importance. So,
Yes.
yeah,
But
that would be it.
it can be scary at times
It is.
to
It's very uncomfortable in the beginning.
it can be scary, uncomfortable, a little bit hesitant to be the silence, be with the silence, because we are so used to the noise everywhere. But yes, it's a very good exercise people should try. And I tell my audiences also that, yes. And coming from Insia, it's validated, yes.
Yeah, I feel like today was one of those days where I was finding it extremely difficult to sit with myself, even for like 15 minutes, because it's a Monday, there's so much to do in the morning, and there's so many emails and conversations, and I was finding it very difficult. But I was like, I have to do this, and I did like a 30-minute yoga session because I was like, I have to center myself, because it's on days like these where you have to push yourself and say that I will, even on a day like this, I will be there for myself. So it's not like it's, you master it and then it happens to you every day. There will always be like days where you.
Thank you so much, Insia, to be on this platform and share your views and share your beautiful story. And I think it's been such a learning experience for me and for audiences. And we wish you an amazing evening at Goa.
Thank you very much. I thoroughly enjoyed this. It just felt like talking to a friend. So thank you.
Thank you so much.